Good evening, everybody. We'd like to call to order the Town of Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, August 17, 2021. This hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The Select Board meetings are live on Comcast Channel 8 and live on ayerpublicaccess.org. We can start, and I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just remember that the mics are being picked up and not on.
Yeah.
So you got to be extra.
The first order of business would be to review and approve the agenda. Scott, do you have any changes?
I have no changes to the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved as presented. I do not have any announcements for this evening. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Town Manager Humphreyan for recognition of Lieutenant Charles Dillon.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it gives me great pleasure to welcome and introduce Lieutenant Charles Chuck Dillon, who many of us know of the Ayer Fire Department. And Lieutenant Dillon is going to be retiring after a very dedicated and distinctive service to the Town of Ayer Fire Department. He started with the Call Fire Department in 1989, went full-time fire in 1992, achieved the rank of lieutenant in 1994, and based on our math, it's about a 32-year dedicated career to the Ayer Fire Department and to the Town of Ayer. And we wanted to recognize him. And I know, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the board, you have a certificate. And maybe before that, if Chief Johnston, the fire chief, if he wanted to add anything.
We could be here all night. But
Yeah.
certainly a couple things that you noted. So he, like many of us, got on the call department in '89. He was fortunate enough to be able to go to the full-time fire academy as a call firefighter, which is kind of unusual nowadays because it's so full. Shortly after that, Chuck was a full-time EMT basic, went on to, in 2005, to become a paramedic while he was working full-time. Also, something that should be noted, Lieutenant Dillon also had a lengthy military career, retiring recently after 41 years of service to the military as a sergeant major, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so we wish him well in retirement and both thank him for his service.
Lieutenant Dillon, I'd like to present this certificate of recognition, valuable recognition of your 32 years of dedicated service to the Ayer Fire Department. On behalf of the residents of the Town of Ayer, the Select Board expresses its sincere gratitude, appreciation, and well wishes for a well-deserved retirement of health and happiness. Congratulations.
Chuck, we'll get a picture with you and the selectmen and Chief Johnson and Robert.
Yeah, I'll be in front. He's been here now for 32 years.
Where's your certificate? Sorry.
Lieutenant, if you want to say.
No, I'm good.
Congratulations. How am I?
Thank you again. Congratulations.
All the best.
Thanks.
Okay.
He has to sign it there. Okay,
If that's okay.
that's fine.
Our next agenda item is public input. Is there anybody here for public input this evening?
We have more seats if people want to come in.
I am, Mr. Chairman. There's more seats on behalf of Devon's Crest. Anybody else?
Okay. Is there, Mr. Sullivan, besides you, is there anybody else that is going to be speaking as part of public input? Or will you be speaking for everybody?
I don't know if there's anybody else, but I certainly will be speaking for them.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Town Manager. I'm here tonight, well, first of all, Connie Sullivan. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Lived in town for the last 35 years, was a selectman for 12. And ironically, one of the reasons that my family and I moved to Ayer was because housing was affordable 35 years ago in Ayer, unlike our surrounding towns. And unlike a lot of our surrounding towns, Ayer was a community and is still somewhat to this day a community where multiple generations in the same family have been able to remain and live because housing has been affordable. It's also because of the affordable housing that we have a rich diversity in our town, both racially and socioeconomic. Something which Ayer, unlike other towns, has celebrated and taken pride in. Ayer has, over the years, promoted affordable housing, unlike a lot of our neighboring towns. But due to a host of circumstances caused by the pandemic, all of a sudden we find housing in Ayer no longer affordable. We've had unprecedented increases in property values. And again, this has eroded the affordability of housing in our town of Ayer. We have 44 families living in Devon's Crest who have been there for many years. Of those 44 families, we have 24 that have received notices to quit and vacate, to move out of their homes by the end of the month. We have the remaining 20 families waiting for that heavy hammer to fall on them, not knowing when or if or how. I've attended some of the meetings at Devon's Crest, and what I've seen is panic and fear in the eyes of the people that live there. If they're evicted, they don't know where they're going to go. These are our neighbors, kids in our school system. You know, at one point, heading west was always an option to try to find affordable housing, but it no longer is, given the current problems caused, the current housing crisis caused by the pandemic. So tonight, I'm here to really ask for your support for the families at Devon's Crest. And these are families, by the way, that are current on their rent. It's not like the scams that we're seeing reported on TV where tenants have not paid landlords for a year or 18 months. These are families that are current on their rent and have been, but can't find anything comparable. Right? So I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to engage with all of the parties that are involved here. To engage not only with the families at Devon's Crest, but to engage with the new property owner of Devon's Crest, Brady Sullivan. To engage with our state political delegation, our state senator and state reps, to help find a solution, whether that's time, money, or as a last resort, a public taking of the private property for a public purpose, called eminent domain. So I've been surprised not to see individual selectmen attending any of the meetings at Devon's Crest. I know everybody's concerned about quorums and open meeting laws and so forth, but when I was on the board, we traditionally, as board members, posted every meeting you could possibly go to, and were able to show our support, or at least our interest in different issues that faced our town. And I think if you attend some of these meetings, you'll start to see that plea for help that I see in the eyes of our neighbors at Devon's Crest. So I know we have a further meeting scheduled later this week. I certainly look forward to the opportunity to further the discussion with the board. Again, just here to ask for your support for the families in our community at Devon's Crest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we just get an update? I know that you've had a few meetings or discussions before this evening, and also what's planned going forward, please.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the town has been aware of this situation from the beginning. The select board and the town did issue a formal statement on July 23rd, 2021, which was at the conclusion of the first meeting that was hosted by the Living Water Fellowship with Senator Eldridge. There was the main thrust of that statement was there was a lot of erroneous information at that initial meeting. There was a second meeting at the Living Water Fellowship, which the town staff was involved in organizing to get RCAP solutions there. I know legal aid through Senator Eldridge's office designed to provide all of the information and resources to individuals. As Attorney Sullivan mentioned, we're scheduled to meet this Thursday with the Devon's Crest Tenants Board, which I believe he represents, to further discuss their ideas and options.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I
So if there is if there is going to be any other input, if you could just be sure that state your name and your address. Keep public input to 2 minutes, and then please address the chair when you do so. Okay.
Good evening, Chair Copeland and Scott Hood, Vice Chair, Town Manager Robert Pombrown, and Carly Antonellis. My name is Denise Peralt, and I live at 181 Willard Street. I moved in 2017 to Ayer because it was affordable. Prior to that, I was living in Lawrence. Lawrence has the lowest income level in the whole state, probably at one point almost the whole country. What's happening countrywide is not something that it's not just happening in Ayer, it's happening countrywide. Investors are going around using their cash to buy up property, to put people out because they want middle income to almost $100,000 income. There is no place for people if we're making under $40,000 because, as you know, affordable housing, the low income level is not low income as we know it. It's $40,000 and above. And really, the state has in the Constitution that it's supposed to create housing extremely low and very low income, and it's not. So I have been sounding the alarm about this problem with housing since 2007. From here to Washington, from here to Boston, HUD, the Secretary of Housing, anybody that I could get their ears. I've talked to state reps. That's how I actually know Senator Eldridge, by going to the State House and trying to get the word out. So this, if we move, really, landlords across the country and across the state, they want to charge outrageous and outlandish money for profit. But we aren't capable of, so we don't even qualify to buy a home to pay $1,800, but yet they want us to pay rent for $1,800 or $1,200. So when you consider that you know, we don't even have enough money to buy a house. How can it be affordable to pay rent? And especially, it's even worse for single people, because if you're making a single income, you don't have that extra cushion to pay the expenses of other things. But this is the third time I've gone through an eviction, and not at any fault of my own. The last eviction, like I said, in 2017, he wanted to jack my rent up $400. When I got evicted in 2007, it was my own father-in-law, and his nephew was the attorney, and I've seen nothing but corruption. But I ended up homeless with my son, and he was only like 9 or 10 years old. There was no help from anything, no legal aid, nothing. But no matter how much help and money we get, that's not the problem. The problem is, where are we gonna live, and how are we gonna pay for something that's exorbitant for people that qualify to, like they offered, I think it was $1,800 for rent, and the qualification for income is $72,000. And I don't even think that most people that live there now make that amount of income. So it just really, it does help, obviously. The money that does help helps us to keep going, but over a long period of time, eventually, we're gonna be in the same position if we have to move out, find something more expensive, and then not increase our income. So I hope that the town, you know, and I understand one thing too, the 10-year plan, like the amount of rentals and you know, for the affordable amount, they're using all those units, and that so the document that was prepared included all those. So as if we have all these different units that count towards this year's 10-year plan. So not like, because that got sold in mid-June, and when did that report get done?
2018. Yeah, 2017, 2018.
Yeah, so those numbers are totally inaccurate for the new, you know, 10-year.
So can I just ask
Yeah.
a quick question? You're saying those were deemed affordable units by like the state housing department?
Well, it's not that it was part of the affordable housing, but there was enough housing. I mean, there was somewhat enough housing,
Okay.
but now that there's all those units that are gonna be not affordable, then that even drops the numbers even lower. So I hope that you come up with a conclusion. And I understand about Devon's. 12 years ago, they took a vote, and now there's a majority vote instead of a 2/3. So I don't know how that, we can't have an emergency meeting, or, you know, have some kind of meeting about the property in Devon's. But you know, that really upsets me, because I see property all over the state, vacant, sitting there, blight, and nobody's doing anything to it. I've like tweeted Governor Baker about it. That we
Sorry,
do have.
not to cut you
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
But, but
No.
I do appreciate your comments. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much, and I hope you consider us.
Yes. Is there anybody else for public input? Hello.
Hi, I'm actually not from Ayer, but I think I'm here for a couple of reasons. A personal reason, as well as a reason that I'm working on a public housing trust. And I have some input that might be interesting to you. I have a little personal connection to Devon's Crest, because when I was younger,
Okay. Sorry, just state your name and
Tara
where you are
Fredericks
from.
from Acton.
What was the last name?
Fredericks, and from Acton. And so when I was young and I was in high school, I had friends that lived in Devon Crest. And so I would come there and hang out, and it was such a community. And you'd know today, if you went door to door like what we've been doing, you'd see what a beautiful community this is. This is so unique of anywhere in this region, perhaps in the state, but it's so precious to preserve and deed restrict for affordable housing forever. And I'm working on in Acton a rehab trust. Now, you already have a housing trust. You can also create a rehab trust that focuses only on rehabilitating existing units. And given the rates right now for towns, I looked up some information, and you guys got a borrowing at 1.408%. Is that correct? Not too long ago. So the money is really cheap, and you can, with the rents that they're paying now, you could break even by buying that property and rehabbing it, and not raising their rents. So even if you just bought a few at a time, 20, 30, 40, you know, you could build up a real stock of seriously very low income housing that can be affordable forever. And I urge you to do so, and I'm happy to help show you how. I'm sure you know how. But I've run the numbers, I have them all on my little Excel sheet and can show you. And I've been talking to Alicia, is that her name?
Yep.
The Housing Trust, and so she was talking to me about how much each unit would cost, and so I revised my numbers, and it still looks break even. So I urge you to try, and I believe that this is an opportunity because I think you have the votes. You have the 2/3 votes to get that done.
Majority.
No, majority is for zoning. This eminent domain takes 2/3, is that correct? So, and then my last comment is that, and under OML, it's my understanding, I'm a former select board member in Acton as well, and it's my understanding that if you are just going to listen and not speak at one of these meetings, that you can have more than one, that you can have a quorum at the board, at the meetings. And then, yeah, because legal aid's not enough. It's great, and I love that Senator Eldridge is stepping up and getting them legal aid to slow the evictions, to get us time to be able to do something more permanent, but I don't think it's that enough. And I feel like we've got to step up and use our local authority to care for our people and care for affordability. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else for public input? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for attending and thank you for sharing with us. And we will take that under advisement. Okay, so our next agenda item is the Conservation Commission and with an update on conservation activities.
You have like one or two spokesmen, and then we'll put the rest kind of this row, or how do you want to go?
We've got a
It's just me.
spokesperson, but other people might want to have something to say.
That's totally fine.
Are you
We
Robert?
can sit until we leave.
Yep, yep.
Good evening, John. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good. We seem to have a quorum, so I think we need to open
Okay.
a special meeting of the Ayer Conservation Commission on August 17th, 2021. All right. If I may, I'd like to give a brief presentation about who we are and what we do, and possibly more importantly, what we plan to do for the future.
Sure. And just so you're aware, these microphones are not working this evening.
Oh.
So we have to be very loud. It's the microphone coming off of that TV over there.
Okie
The
dokie.
Mondo pad.
All right, good to know. I'd like to introduce the commission before we get started. We have Jen Amaya is our newest member. We have George Bacon is our oldest member. Not age, but experience. I think I've got a few years on George. Yes, you know. Just Eugenio as a member clerk. Mr. Mark Phillips as vice chair, and myself as chair. And Joanne Christoph, conservation administrator, last but not least. I'd like to go over just briefly the roles and responsibilities of the Conservation Commission in Ayer. And there's two categories, statutory and town related. Statutory are upholding the Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaws, Article 26, permitting review of projects in Concom jurisdiction, field visits, inspections, so that Joanne cannot be in the office all the time. She has to go out and do her due diligence, make sure things are getting done properly on site. And I think in your packet there was a grid that shows the steady but increasing amount of notices of intent, RDAs, coming into the office. Year by year, it's a little bit more. And last year, during the pandemic shutdown, even with limitations, they processed even more than the year before. And what we do in meetings, we had to do meetings very fast, as you know. But then Joanne had to go back to her office and deal with everything that we did. And it's still a lot of work, a lot of time. As Ayer approaches build-out, this doesn't signify eventually less work for the Concom, but more. As homeowners want to make changes to the yard, build additions, etc., each thing that they do, they need to come before us. In enforcement this year, none so far. Town-related items, our agent fields a lot of phone calls from residents, which is a good thing, because she gets the information from the homeowners before they do something that they shouldn't, when they have to reverse it. But it's a lot of time on the phone, a lot of site visits. Passed our local wetlands bylaw in 2019. We enacted the initial regulations in 2020, but we're not done with those. This fall, we're submitting a fertilizer use bylaw to town meeting, and the public hearing will be in September, which is just to try to improve the water quality of Ayer's, water quality of Ayer's water. Let's see, with the updating zoning bylaws and open space residential development section, we now also have to prepare conservation recommendations to the planning board, and then to set up conservation restrictions for each OSRD subdivision. Conservation restrictions in general need to be monitored annually, or the state can take the land back. So we have old CRs that need to be cleaned up, some parcels that need the CRs done in the first place. We have new ones from the OSRD process and other projects, and all of them will need to be tracked and monitored. Public access to Flanagan's Pond. We are committed to getting public access to Flanagan's Pond. It's long overdue. I met with Robert a couple of weeks ago. We did a site walk and talked about possible sites for public access. Beaver Dam activity. We have a management plan, working on a management plan with Dan Van Schalkwyk, the DPW. Management of weed control in the ponds at Sandy, Flanagan's, Pine Meadow so far, something that we do on a yearly basis. And hopefully if we can get the fertilizer use bylaw through, it will be a lot less money spent on cleaning up ponds. Open space acquisition, which is always a goal, to make use of our conservation fund, which we can't really go into details right now as they are some of them sensitive. And we need willing sellers. Interdepartmental coordination. For example, land use committee work with town planner, building inspector, grant applications and educational projects, work with the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, sign projects in town. Joanne was helped to do the poetry walk in where is that, Pine Meadow? Yep, which is a wonderful thing. If you haven't seen it, it's great. Going forward, Concom, like several other departments in town, needs help. Continuing at this pace, even if it did not continue to increase, is not sustainable, and it will lead to human burnout. We've been meeting with Robert and Carly the past several months, talking about possible solutions to the problem, and we're getting there. I think we're doing a good job, I think. Yep. As a stopgap measure, we would like to advertise an assistant position, temporary, part-time, to be funded from our wetlands fund, but we'll be seeking in the fiscal year 2023 budget to make this permanent. We need both select board and town residents, especially those who attend town meetings in fall and spring, to understand what we do, especially our administrator, Joanne Kristoff, not just in service of state and local laws, but for the town itself. That is my presentation. If you have any questions right now, you can ask away. And
Scott?
So the position you're looking for, you said is temporary and part-time. How long do you anticipate needing that?
well, the it would go until, was it November?
It's
No.
spring.
Huh?
The spring.
Till the spring?
Yeah. So it's temporary until
It gets in the budget.
Until it gets in the
for
budget, and then we can make it.
All right, now I understand.
Yeah, so it's a part-time, 19 hours or less, someone with experience who can help out with Joanne in the office.
And that is able to be funded through the proposed method?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and the chairman outlined everything greatly in the report. The challenge what conservation is facing, and frankly, I think will be a larger discussion as we move into the FY23 budget, is not a unique challenge just to conservation, but also to other departments, is the human resource or the human work component to it. So in the case of conservation, and we've been meeting, the chair, myself, Ms. Antonellis, Ms. Kristoff, and Ms. Regino throughout the summer on a wide variety of issues, as the chair mentioned. One of them is the additional administrative support to the Conservation Commission. As the board's aware, the Wetlands Fund that the chairman speaks to is a fund that is under the purview of the Conservation Commission. And there could be funds which the commission would like to use for a part-time interim position, which can be done. And then, as the chairman mentioned, it's the intention of the commission through the FY23 budget to submit a proposal regarding staffing for consideration ultimately by town meeting. But it's the commission's feeling that between now and, as we know, the whole budget process and so forth, to get some immediate resources there. So that's what they're looking to do. The funding source would be the wetlands, which is their purview, and my office will continue to work with them on that front.
There's a history in the past of paying for additional help.
Hi, Jess?
Hi, and I'd just like to add, we're seeing that the town has changed over the years, as all towns do. Our town hall structure is still very much the same as it's been for decades. And, the issue of the town's needs, the issue of human burnout is a very real thing. And I did talk to you about that, Scott, once before. This isn't just a conservation thing. I refer you back to Dennis Curran's comments about there's no zoning enforcement, because we have a single building inspector and he doesn't have time. We're juggling more balls than Joanne can juggle, and even with our help. And I know there are other departments in town that also are feeling massively overstretched. And this isn't just because of the pandemic. Our issues were started before the pandemic. But I also just want to put in a plug. I have noticed seeing meetings on screen that Robert and Carly periodically look absolutely fried as well. So I would just say, I would just put in a plea that
Even with my summer suit?
but that this should be regarded as a yellow alert moment for the select board in the town to catch up before we start losing some potentially really good people.
Great. Thank you, Jess. Yes, Scott.
So I had a conversation with Robert and Carly a few months ago, and we were talking about the need for additional help here at Town Hall, various departments. Do we have a sense, like, outside of, in addition to conservation, what other departments, and is it seasonal? When is it seasonal? And it's something I think we should look at when we look forward to the next budget, to trying to bake in some additional funds for additional help, even if it's temporary from time to time or part-time help.
Selectman Hood, as you know, we have discussed this at length. The plan is for the board, before the official budget directive goes out, which is generally December 1st, as you know, is to have a discussion. I'll be coming before the board beginning of October at the latest, identifying town-wide these various areas. And you make up a good point. In some cases, the solution, and to be clear, is not necessarily, in some instances, a full-time benefited position or so forth. Some of it involves some restructuring, and for the record, when I say restructuring, that doesn't mean, layoffs and so forth. But I would like to have start that discussion with the board and the by board and so forth, starting in October as we're putting that together. What the chairman has outlined from conservation, they're sort of giving you a sneak peek. One is they're going to be moving in the direction of a temporary interim using the wetlands funds, which at this time, and that there'll be something more formal through the budget process. So by the beginning of October, we will have, I will have a presentation for the board's consideration.
Thank you.
And then, you may have said this and it went over my head, but the position that you're asking for that would be in the next, like the permanent position, is that also 19 hours or would that be a full-time position?
I think it would be a part-time.
Part-time, okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
No other questions?
Okay.
And was anybody else from your board speaking or?
Nope.
Okay,
All right.
great. Thank you very much.
We
for
appreciate it.
the
Thank you so much.
update.
We need to adjourn.
Oh,
So
it's scheduled, yeah.
is there a motion to adjourn? Second. Yeah, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I hope this can become at least a yearly thing where we come in as a commission and check in.
I would like that.
Welcome it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'd like to do that.
It's always good to know what people are up to.
It is good. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Our next item is the ratification of appointment of the Senior Center Director.
Mr. Chair, just be with us.
Hello. How are you?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce to you Dr. Katie Petrossi, the recommendation for appointment as the next COA director of the Senior Center. And before we get underway, through you, Mr. Chair, I do want to recognize that the members of the Council on Aging are here in support. The chair, Carolyn McCreary, Sister Paula, Ms. Janine Nichipur, the clerk of the board, and Deb Keown from our outreach coordinator from the COA. And did I miss anybody else from the COA? Okay. So welcome. As the board knows, the town, I just want to go over the public process. The town publicly advertised for the position on the Massachusetts Municipal Association website, the Mass Council on Aging website, the Lowell Sun, and on the town's various website and social media. The town received 23 applications for the position, which were vetted by a screening committee headed by Kevin Johnston, our benefits and payroll manager, as well as all of the members of the Council on Aging and the assistant town manager vetted those applications. Of the 23 applicants, the screening committee selected the 4 most qualified applicants to be interviewed. These 4 applicants were interviewed by a screening committee, again headed by Kevin Johnston, benefits and payroll, and consisted of the assistant town manager, Ms. Antonellis, Ms. Tamara Bedard, the Neshoba Boards of Health manager and public nurse, and Ms. Janine Nichipur, the clerk of the Council on Aging, conducted the interviews. After a thorough review of her resume, interview, and in consultation with her professional references, the screening committee unanimously recommended Dr. Katie Petrossi to the town manager for appointment. Katie holds a PhD in gerontology or aging studies and brings 25 years of diverse professional experience working with seniors and the applied science of aging. The board has her most impressive resume and credentials in your packet. In addition to the unanimous recommendation of the screening committee and her most impressive resume and credentials, I had the opportunity to meet with Katie to discuss her vision for the future of the Senior Center and the Council on Aging. I was most impressed with her lifelong passion and compassion for seniors, as well as her experience with the building renovation in the Harvard Senior Center project and an addition that was done at the Townsend Senior Center. Additionally, she has extensive experience with grant writing, program development, public relations, and she implemented a successful COVID-19 response program in Townsend. All experiences and skills that will serve our seniors and town well. So at this time, I recommend her for ratification by the Select Board, and I think before we get to that, Mr. Chair, through you, I'd ask Katie to share her thoughts with the board and any questions the board may have.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve Ayer seniors. I am really looking forward to it. And as Robert mentioned, I've got a lot of ideas for the real whole person wellness of Ayer seniors, their physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual and emotional. And there's just a lot of potential and possibility, and I can't wait to get started.
Any questions?
No questions, make a comment. Thank you very much. He's come highly regarded, apparently, so looking forward to a successful future.
Thank you.
So, and just to add, Mr. Chair, the appointment before you for ratification would be effective September 1st of 2021. And as I discussed with Katie, once she gets on board by the beginning of October, we'd like to reconvene the working group that was looking at the Senior Center project with the COA board and so forth, and regroup. And with her leadership and expertise, we look forward to moving that forward. So I appreciate your consideration and would respectfully be just asking for a vote for ratification effective September 1st.
Good motion.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Katie Petrossi as the Ayer Council on Aging Director effective September 1st, 2021.
Second that. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. The next item up is Mark and Dan. Our DPW report. So. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good evening. How you guys doing?
Good.
It's great to be here in person again.
Exactly.
Welcome back.
So we have a couple of items tonight. The first is the execution of the contract for the Ayer wastewater treatment plant FY 2020 improvements. And I'll clarify why that's FY 2020. That was the year that money was voted and when we were dividing up the project. So we're doing phases. This is actually the third phase of improvements that we've been working on at the plant. And primarily this project involves, we're putting in, I call it sludge dewatering because I'm old school. They might call it biosolids dewatering, but we basically truck all of our wastewater solids off-site to down to a place in Rhode Island, and it's a significant cost to the town, but we don't have really a lot of other options. So right now we're sending about 3% solids, so we're going to be putting in some equipment reduce that to the water content to about 6% solid. So we'll be able to haul about twice as much sludge as we are right now. So that's the primary focus of this project. We've got a lot of other mechanical things that we're going to be working on also, but it's an aging plant, it needs a lot of work. So we put the design together. We delayed the bid because we do have other projects going on with the PFAS construction at the 2 treatment plants, and but put this out to bid, and we're ready to go now. So we received 4 bids. The low bidder was Winston Builders Corporation. They have a lot of experience in town. They did our initial upgrade in 2015 at the Grove Pond water treatment plant. They did the PFAS water treatment plant at Grove Pond. They're working right now on the PFAS treatment plant at Spectacle Pond, and they did the previous upgrade at the wastewater treatment plant. So, and I've actually worked with them since the early 80s on the project. So I actually started working with the fathers, and the 2 sons are now the guys running the show. So anyway, their low bid was $2,489,890, and so we're recommending that the town award the contract to Winston Builders.
Scott, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Neither do I. Take a motion.
I'll make a motion to execute the contract with Winston Builders Corporation for the FY 2020 wastewater treatment plant improvements in the amount of $2,489,890.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
And then we'll have them sign after, and then I'll get them back to you guys tomorrow.
Can you get Ms. Gabri to sign
Yep.
also?
Yep.
As contractors, insurance company.
Good.
And I'll have Dan talk about the street acceptance after seeing the 30 emails go back and forth to get the paperwork all set.
We got it all squared away. So the second item, it's the final step in accepting the streets from 2021 town meeting, which was Trevor Trail and a portion of Pleasant Street Extension, is to acquire them. The select board has to do that. And so we worked with town council, the town manager's office, and the developers and his council to put together the legal documents required to make the acquisition of those streets. And they had to complete one final paving item, which was a stipulation of town meeting, which they did. So everything's in order, and we have our town council prepared deed acceptances, and those will be for signature by the board, and we recommend signing those to acquire the streets.
Any questions?
No
Pretty
questions.
straightforward.
Yeah, fairly.
Okay.
So your motion, question on the wording of the motion is the correct wording the acquisition of the accepted streets for Trevor Trail and Pleasant Street Extension as presented?
I would say to approve the acceptance
To
of
approve
the
the acceptance.
documents for Trevor Trail and Pleasant Street.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the acceptance of Trevor Trail and portion of Plain Street Extension as voted for acceptance at the annual town meeting on April 26, 2021 as presented.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Anything else for you guys tonight?
They're not going too far.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Next thing.
All right, so next up is the ratification of appointment of the DPW director. Mr. Town Manager?
All right.
Julie.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Select Board, it gives me great pleasure, and joined with the Director of Public Works, Mark Wetzel, it gives me great pleasure to present to you tonight for your consideration of ratification my appointment of Mr. Dan Van Schalwick as the next DPW Director for the town of Ayer. The town, in its public safety departments, of which DPW is one of them, is most fortunate that we have had and have developed a succession plan internally with the plans of having a seamless transition moving forward. And without question, Dan is the most qualified individual to assume the position of DPW Director. His impressive resume and credentials speak for themselves for which you have in the packet, and he has served with dedication and professionalism as the town's engineer for almost 7 years, at which time he's worked directly with the DPW Director, Mark Wetzel, on all facets of the department's operations and town's infrastructure. He brings over 14 years of experience in civil and environmental engineering, holds a professional engineering certification, the PE, and has direct first-hand knowledge and experience with all of the DPW's operations, infrastructure, and complex systems. He has been an integral part of the DPW's proactive success and the town's proactive success, and is the most qualified to assume that position of Director of Public Works upon the retirement of Mark Wetzel as DPW Director. And so this evening, I'm asking the board for your vote of ratification of the appointment of Mr. Dan Van Schalwick as the next DPW Director. And Dan is before you this evening, probably to offer a few words about his vision and any questions the board would have. And before we get to Dan, I don't know if Mr. Wetzel, who probably knows Dan the best and has worked closely with him and brought Dan to the town 7 years ago, if you wanted to add anything on behalf of Dan.
Sure. We were really fortunate as a town to hire Dan as the first town engineer. Dan complements my skills really well. We work really good together. We divide up our expertise and our workload very well, communicate very well. And I think with Dan's experience, that he'll carry on the tradition that we've developed at the DPW. We've got a good program going. We have a good staff, good workload management, and Dan's been really fortunate to work with us on getting all that. And the town now has the ability to continue with that culture. And I think that's what's really important. If we didn't have this opportunity, you bring in someone from the outside and you don't know what they're going to do. That was sort of the experience with me. I had never been a public works director before, and Robert took the chance with me. But you know what you're getting with Dan, and I think it's really fortunate that town has that ability to promote him into my position.
Thank you. Yeah, well, thanks for those kind words, both of you, Robert and Mark. I had a few talking points I put together, and one, I just wanted to thank Mark. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't learning under him in the past 7 years. And I know when he started, we had paper records for all our plans and everything. So he had to really turn the department around and turn it into the well-oiled machine that it is today. And you can just see some of the work we're doing with East Main Street and Washington Street's redone, West Main's coming, the PFAS plans, which the Army paid for. So Mark's worked really hard and done a great job, and I've learned a lot from him. Like we were saying, it's kind of a seamless transition. I'll be able to continue what we're doing now. I have the relationships with everyone, and can't wait to get going on it. I'll always have the mindset of, it's the town first. What are the best interests of Ayer? I've been doing that almost 7 years here, but I'll obviously continue to do that. And I just look forward to working on it and working with all of you.
And you have some support here tonight?
Oh yeah, I do. So my wife Julie and my kids Will and Claire.
Hi guys.
And my parents are here too, Bill and Maureen, hiding in the corner over there.
And we also have Rick Hudson, who's our wastewater.
Hi, Rick.
Want to see him? Hey, Rick.
Any questions?
No questions at all.
I feel like a great choice.
Absolutely.
Well, I will gladly accept the motion then.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Dan Van Schalwick, PE, as the Ayer Director of Public Works, effective October 1st, 2021.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right.
Congratulations.
All right. That brings us to our town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. You have in your packet all of the town warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met on July 14th. In terms of the administrative update, and in the interest of time, just a brief overview. Again, the main focus for the administration this summer, as you can see, has been a lot of hiring of senior level positions, for which I think we will continue our successful team moving forward. We are beginning to prepare, obviously, as summer is going by quickly, begin to prepare for the budget process and fall town meeting and the annual town meeting. And it's almost like back to school for the town, if you will. So unless there are any specific questions on administrative matters, I'll cut right to the action items. So the first action items that you have some appointments, recommendations for appointments. The first is a COA appointment, the Council on Aging. I respectfully recommend and request that the Select Board vote to appoint Mr. Dennis Curran of Ayer to a vacant 3-year term on the Council on Aging to expire on June 30th, 2022. With his appointment, that will give the COA a full complement of 5 members. Dennis did approach the town through the chair of the COA board, is interested in getting involved with the senior center, the new project. He's also recently retired, and so we put him forth for your appointment.
Any questions on that?
No questions?
Okay, I'll take a motion.
All right. I'll make a motion to appoint Dennis Curran to the vacant term on the Council on Aging to expire June 30th, 2022.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. The next is the staff appointment to the Disabilities Commission. As the board is aware, you recently made the appointments to the Disability Commission, which is most exciting as we get that effort up and going. Special thanks to Alan Manoyan, who was the staff point on all of this work. And we're required to have a staff appointment on the Disabilities Commission. And I'm respectfully recommending and request that the Select Board vote to appoint Mr. Alan Manoyan, Director of Community and Economic Development, as the staff representative on the town's Disability Commission for a term to expire on June 30th of 2022. Then what we envision doing is changing every 2 years, appointing a different staff person. I think would be good exposure and experience for staff and for the commission. But the logical choice at this point would be Alan, as they're getting up and going. So recommend him for June 30th of 2022.
Any questions?
No questions?
No questions? I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Alan Manoyan as the staff representative to the Town's Disability Commission for a term to expire on June 30th, 2022.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then from the Affordable Housing Trust, 2 appointments, and I know we have the chair of the Affordable Housing Committee in the audience, Ms. Janet Provodakis, Ms. Alicia Hersey, Mr. Ken Diskin, who's on the Housing Trust. And
another Jake.
Oh, and Jake, I didn't see you. Yeah, yes. So you have in your packet a memo from Ms. Provodakis. The first is respectfully recommend and request that the Select Board vote to appoint Ms. Patricia Bagney Latimer to the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ms. Patricia Bagney Latimer to the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And then respectfully recommend and request that the Select Board vote to appoint Mr. James Stephen to the Affordable Housing Trust as the representative from the Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
No questions? I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. James Stephen to the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust as representative from the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Right. Next, I would ask Alan Manoyan to join me at the table, the Director of Community and Economic Development, to talk briefly with the board, give you a brief update of what he's been working on the Heart of Hometown Festival coming up in a couple of months. And I'll let Alan give a brief update, and you have a memo from Alan in the packet and any questions you may have. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and through you to the board. Yes, on Saturday, October the 2nd, we have scheduled and will be conducting the Downtown Ayer Heart of Hometown Festival. We'll be doing it right here on Newton Street. As we've learned all too well, it's very difficult to block off Main Street and do anything. So, but I'll say what I want to do, just to recognize the reason this is possible, we have been very successful in terms of securing private sector sponsorship for these events. So tonight I want to recognize Main Street Bank for joining us as the gold sponsor, Neshoba Valley Medical Center as our silver sponsor, and Catania Oils as our fellow silver sponsor. This has provided us in $10,000 of private sector funds, which is making this possible. So sponsorship has come through well. I also want to recognize we've put together a great committee of residents, 13 members, all Ayer residents. We had a meeting this evening before. So these folks are working with us, all our municipal departments. And it's going to be an extraordinary festival here in downtown Ayer. It's been a tough year for everybody. We've been separated in a lot of ways. So we thought the timing was right for our community to come together and enjoy each other's company again and celebrate. This also, of course, ties into the town's sesquicentennial anniversary this year. We weren't able to do any large public events during the year. It seems like now we have an opportunity. Of course, we're going to track COVID and what happens with all that this fall, but hopefully we will be able to carry through with it. Live musical performance, dance performance, theatrical performance, a taste of Ayer, our restaurants and eateries, food, our beautiful art festival, visual artists, and then we invite, of course, all our local organizations, scouting clubs, churches, our many committees. Join in, let's celebrate all that is Ayer this fall together in downtown. This will also be very important for the downtown economy. We have to work to bring our daytime economy back to the downtown. It has suffered. So for all this, it's going to be a great festival, and we hope there's an opportunity for the select board members to be a part of this. We would love to see the three of you up on the main stage as MCs. Okay? We'd also like
I
to.
can't sing or dance for the life of me.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, come up, we'll see about that. But really, come up, because the other thing we'd like to do is take this as an opportunity to recognize our hometown heroes. So many of the folks that got us through this past year, physicians, nurses, medical technicians, the folks that work in our supermarkets through all this, frontline first responders. So that would be a wonderful opportunity for you to get on stage and really, recognize all that. So we look forward to the festival. We'll all do a great job for Ayer. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alice.
The next item under my report, number 4, is a request for approval of UDAG funding for the Community Development Program Manager. And there's a memo in the packet from Mr. Manoyan, the department head, and from Ms. Hersey. And what we're looking to do is, Alicia Hersey is our Community Development Program Manager. And over time, recently, her duties in that role have expanded, especially as we've continued to move in the direction of housing and affordable housing. She now oversees, provides the staff support for both the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee and the newly created Ayer Affordable Housing Trust, and in addition to all of her other functions. And when her position was created within the union matrix, the majority of it is step 5 per the contract, and there was a small portion that was classified as a step 2. that goes back to how it had been structured previously some time ago. What Alan and I are proposing is that the entire position, it should be classified as a step 5 within the union contract. And a request came from the union and Ms. Hersey during the height of COVID on this. I appreciate their patience. What we're seeking your authorization for is the difference for that adjustment effective retroactive to July 1st would be $3,756. It come from the UDAG funds. Moving forward, this change would be integrated into the departmental budget for the FY23 budget. So I'm looking for your consideration for approval to authorize $3,756 from the UDAG budget to adjust the Community Development Program Manager salary.
The only question I have is nothing against the increase. Is why is UDAG the funding source on this one?
We would, the reason is because we're in the mid-budget year, and so this request, this should have been done, if you will, during the height of COVID, like so many things, and it was delayed. And so now we'd like to get this in place effective for July 1st.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I guess, yeah, I have no other questions for that, but, yeah, Janice.
Hi, Janet Providakis, Waverly Court. I'm the chair of the Affordable Housing Committee as well as Housing Authority and such. I just wanted to go ahead and say, first of all, thank you very much for those appointments. That means the Housing Trust right now is fully staffed, so that's going to give Alicia even more work. And we're still looking for one more person for the Housing Committee. So I wanted to put that out there as well. We'd be lost without her, so I wanted to make sure you guys knew you were aware of that. The fending of calls that she's been taking from Devon's Crest, as well as all the questions that the team has and everything. Again, she has been right there on the spot, always taking my phone calls and such. So I definitely would recommend giving her a raise. It's like, oh, so I had to say something.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no other questions.
I would
Take a motion.
I'll make a motion that the select board authorize the usage of $3,756 from UDAG funding for a salary adjustment of the Community Development Program Manager for the fiscal year 2022.
Second that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, members of the board. Item 5, as I mentioned in the packet, I would like to, in the interest of time, briefly discuss and looking for some guidance from the select board with respect to remote participation for public meetings. As we had all hoped, and it's been a very long 18 months, and we were on the remote system for so long, and then we went back to in-person, offering some level of hybrid starting in June. And as I think many had hoped, that the COVID situation would maybe be a little better off than it has been. So what I'm getting at is, first, the governor has extended the emergency provisions of the open meeting law for remote participation through April of 2022. We have made the transition back from all remote to in-person with the hybrid. However, as everybody sees, there are some concerning trends in the COVID-19 numbers. Specifically, Middlesex County is classified currently at high risk. They've gone to a different system, but high risk for transmission. There is the Delta variant component, and I'm in no means trying to be doom and gloom this evening. We have had mixed response in going to in-person. What I'm getting at is a lot of people do like the in-person component. There were aspects of the remote component that were desirable as well in terms of participation. Additionally, we continue to be plagued with technological challenges with the audio in this room, specifically with the Zoom component. As we're approaching the fall, The other thing is, even tonight, though everybody had masks on, one of the other challenges has been, and we want public participation, there are some major projects before the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission. The 40B housing project is about to come before the Zoning Board, and people want to be involved. And the challenge is that we've had 50, 60 people in this room, and sometimes without masks or varying degree. We've recently gone back to the advisory on the masks. Therefore, I'm looking for your thoughts and guidance as we move into the fall. What do we do? In other words, on one hand, we do have the ability to go back at least through April of 2022 to remote. And again, ultimately, my goal as the town manager, and I think it's all of our goals, but I'm just saying as the town manager, is employee safety and health, board committee safety and health, and public safety and health, erring on the side of caution to be proactive. So in talking to my department heads and so forth, I'm leaning towards, but it's ultimately a policy decision for the board, but if you ask me, perhaps by, say, September 7th, because there are some public hearings that are already advertised and scheduled for in person, that perhaps the board consider going back to remote, say a date in September, in preparation for the fall and so forth. But, and I know that's a lot and it is a big discussion, you know, but I wanted to see where your thoughts were.
So really, the primary challenge is for the larger meetings, you know, the select board, planning board, correct? Do we have the option to go to, I guess, a committee by committee decision? So if it's a smaller committee meeting, they want to meet in person, we can give them that option. However, for something like the select board, I would recommend probably going fully remote just for better public participation. Same thing with the planning. I mean, I don't know if that's an option or if it's all or nothing, where all the meetings have to go remote.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Selectman Hood, and I think the answer is, I don't think it's an all or nothing proposition. So perhaps maybe it could be some of the committees, some of the boards, and that's why I think we should be discussing this. And I think obviously you would agree with the caveat, of course, if things change to a level that the state or the federal government issues guidance, we've been following the DPH and CDC, which right now there's no restriction except as the option. With that just disclaimer, we'll of course reapproach the board and would follow that. But I just think there have been some concerns with the larger meetings with the public.
And I just want to, we've been talking with APAC as well, so there's like different technology we can employ to have, it's just, there's a lot of different options, it sounds like. They're not set on which one. So like tonight where we're having to speak through this Mondo pad, but we're being recorded by the cameras, so those microphones work for the recording but not the live broadcast. We're still getting some sound complaints.
Okay.
So my thought was, once we're all remote like we used to be, at least everyone's in their own space, projecting into their own microphone, and you can see your face of each board member as opposed to this table view.
Curious if it's something that can be done on, also like a meeting by meeting. Like if we're, you know, if the numbers at posting time, if we're still in a high risk or a higher risk category, we do remote, but if it's not.
Yeah, see, the thing with that, Mr. Chairman, is a lot of the planning, zoning, conservation, they have newspaper requirements that they have to advertise like 3 weeks out to have it run 2 weeks ahead.
Yep.
So I just think it would, kind of for the land use permitting boards, like they would need to know that either they're all remote or they're not, kind of thing, because it's just you're scheduling like 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time.
Do we have feedback from Any committees and boards on their preference?
I'm glad that you asked that. So I think that could be one tool we could do a poll internally, because I don't have definitive, I have some informal from some of the chairs and so forth. And the second piece I was going to add, we did ask the 17 towns in the Neshoba Valley, because we're all in the same boat, what they're doing. And everybody's sort of the answer is they're basically doing what we're doing now, but watching it very closely, meaning in person, but offering like we are the hybrid for the public. So there was nothing definitive yet there, so we follow that. So, I mean, that could be something we could also poll Ms. Antonellis and I could poll all of our boards and committees and see what their thoughts are.
Yeah, and some of just the general feedback, again, from land use boards, planning, conservation, zoning, it is where they do have a big workload coming up, and there's some, hotly debated items. They are getting 50, 60 people in the room, and, that is concerning to them. Then of course they say, well, we'll go in the Great Hall, but then you definitely can't hear in the Great Hall. So, I mean, initial feedback from the boards and committees is the number of people in the room.
Yeah. So again, I don't think we're not like at an emergency threshold that the board needs to make a decision per se tonight, but I think we monitor this obviously daily, but we should be prepared, maybe by the next meeting or so, some thoughts. I'm thinking one of the takeaways, we could poll all of the boards and committees, get their feedback. And again, to be clear, if in an ideal world, we want to go back to 2019, meaning, all back in person. I want to make that clear. The other thing, just to be crystal clear, we're only talking about public meetings. The town hall and town buildings remain open to the public at this time, and there is no plan to change any of that, just to be clear for the public, because things get misconstrued at times. Our goal is we're asking folks to wear masks, asking as an advisory, but we're going to remain open. The question is managing the public meeting. So maybe...
Yeah, I think I'd like to think about it.
Yeah.
And maybe decide the first meeting in September.
I agree with that. Yeah, I'd like to, if you can poll the other committees and boards, see what they want to do.
Okay.
That would give us some good guidance.
All right, so why don't we do this? Through the chair, we'll put this on the agenda for the 7th. We'll do an internal poll of all the boards and committees. That information will be for the board and the public in the packet, and any other information that we get.
Okay.
And also, can you follow up with APAC and see what they need in order to kind of fix the audio within the room? Because I think that's something important enough that, like that I would fund through UDAC, just to try to solve that piece. Because I'm sure even if we do go fully remote at some point, when we come back, we'll still be doing a hybrid.
Yeah. We'll
If
always
we
do
do
a hybrid.
fully remote.
Yeah, we will consult with APAC and IT. I know that Cindy through IT also, there was this other product that she was looking at as far as the visibility of the room. So we'll look at both of those pieces.
And maybe this could be a COVID grant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're looking at
Right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. All right. More to come. In the interest of time, and this was and I know we're running behind, number 6 was to, again, start this discussion and start this process. Several years ago, and I always give credit where credit's due to Selectman Hood, the idea came up of having a universal budget town meeting calendar that the select board formally approves and that is publicly available. And it has worked well. I think this is going to be our 3rd or 4th cycle. I think the 4th cycle with it, because what it does is it puts everything and everybody on the same page, and any changes that have to be made after it's approved at least have to go through the select board in public. So it forces all of us, boards, committees, department heads, myself, everybody, to stick to a deadline. So I want to thank Ms. Antonellis, just put together the draft, and this is just a rough draft, as it always is at this point. The goal would be by your second meeting in September, so we'll discuss this some more next meeting and want you to digest it, and it'll be available in draft form for others' input. We'd be looking for you to approve it on September 21st for the year, which we generally do. So I just wanted to sort of get this discussion ball rolling. I don't know if there's any specific questions at this point. I know the buy board is, we're going to set up a meeting, but the buy board has some input on the budget piece. But I don't know if there were any initial comments, but my goal tonight was just to sort of present it. Say we're targeting for September 21st for final approval, and we'll continue to populate it. And just real quick, what is up on the screen is October, and the board set this previously in July, so that the fall town meeting warrant will close on Friday the 1st, and the select board meeting on the 5th to review and approve the warrant. And of course, the fall town meeting, as set by the bylaws, is scheduled for Monday, October 25th at 7 p.m. And we have confirmed the auditorium, and Ms. Knox has confirmed all of the components with APAC for the remote capability, because it looks like, given the current trends, there will be no, unless the legislature makes a change, which they hadn't, town meeting has to happen in person, but our remote system is available. So unless there's any questions from the board, I think the homework assignment is maybe take a look at it. If there's any questions, as I mentioned in the packet, there's some things to be further populated from some of the committees like buy board and so forth. And we can have a brief review and discussion on draft 2 at the next meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking what we would do is reach out to each individual buy board, capital planning, get a sense of when they want to meet, days of the week, times. We'll know whether we're remote or not by that point, and then we can start filling those in for this meeting on the 7th.
Okay.
Just to get a better sense.
Okay. Last, number 7, you have in your packet the Central Fire Station, the historic fire station, the South Bay Addition Removal Agreement. As the board will recall, one of the requirements for the historic preservation and one of the requirements for the transaction was the demolition of the South Bay of the historic fire station, which was obviously a more contemporary wing that was added. Due to the impacts of COVID, the owner, and now soon to be new owner, there were delays in the ability for that bay to be demolished. And so in meeting with their council, the town came to an agreement. They've asked for an extension, and the agreement is proposed to extend the time for that removal to August of 2022. So just about a 1-year extension. We feel that's fair and equitable given the issues that happened with COVID. They're committed to meeting that deadline to fulfill that. And we'd be looking for a vote for your approval and signature of that agreement. And it was reviewed by our town council, and their council is Attorney Gibbons.
And also to complement that, if I may, the historic preservation restriction document was signed by the Historic Commission right after your meeting last time.
Okay.
It's been sent to Boston to be recorded, so it is on the books, as they say, the historic preservation restriction.
Okay. Any questions, Scott?
No questions?
Okay, I'll take a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the Central Fire Station South Bay Addition Removal Agreement as presented.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Gentlemen, that concludes my report. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. And any new business or questions?
No new business this evening.
Okay. Approval of meeting minutes for June 15th, 2021 and July 14th, 2021.
I had no changes to either.
No changes. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 15th and July 14th, 2021 as presented.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Minutes are approved. That brings us to executive session.
Mr. Chair, I move to enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Exemption 2, non-union negotiations for the Senior Center COA Director and DPW Director contracts, and Exemption 3, litigation strategy relating to national opioid litigation, and to adjourn at the conclusion of executive session. Discussing these items in open session would be detrimental to the town's negotiation strategy.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry.